Russell Gahagan here from Russell's Fishing Tech. Today I want to talk about one of the most important things in salmon and trout fishing, and I want to let out one of the biggest secrets that I feel I have in salmon and trout fishing. And I go over this subject in almost all of my salmon schools, salmon fishing seminars, and this is really a game changer for guys that don't understand this. One of the most popular products we've sold for a few years now at the Real Shot Sheboygan is the Salmon Candy brand. And the Salmon Candy brand makes flies. That's their mainstay. They sell leaders for their flies. They just now got into the flasher part of the business. But really their mainstay is flies. And they've developed a system that is called an interchangeable fly system that has made me a better flasher and fly salmon fisherman, and has made pretty much all of my customers a better flasher and fly fisherman, and I know it'll make you a better flasher and fly fisherman. So I'm going to go over right now why this system is important and what some of the conveniences and advantages are of the interchangeable fly system. First and foremost, back in the early 2000s when we first started fishing flashers and flies, and then throughout the 2000s as I helped develop a lot of the colors that are on the market now today for flashers especially, and some of the flies, what we've found is that the flasher color is really important, and varying the color, varying the reflections, the tapes, the different things like that makes a huge difference as this thing is whipping through the water, and you can probably just see in this video with that tape on there, and like this one here with a chrome blade and that tape on there, what kind of reflection and what kind of color changes you're going to see just by changing the colors here from a white blade to a chrome blade with tape, without tape. And what that does is it draws the salmon in from a long distance. So the different color flashers make a huge difference in the world. And you can vary those tremendously day to day. What I found then was on the business end, the fly color, I've narrowed down my fly selection. I actually only fish about 4 or 5 different flies now, and I suggest to most of my customers who are used to maybe fishing 10 to 12 colors of flies to narrow it down to 6 or 8. There are a lot of different colors of flies that work, and depending on what port you're in, what color the water is, what lake you're on, Lake Ontario, Lake Michigan, different colors of flies might work a little bit better in your area than it does in my area, or vice versa. But what's important is that you narrow down that fly selection and that you carry quite a few of each one of those flies. And the reason that you want to do that is here on the business end, like I said, once we get a fly that's working, like this one here is the Ron Bros X Mistress. It's kind of a powder blue fly. When I know that this is working, I put 1 or 2 of these out, and I keep getting bit on these, and I'm not getting bit today on the green fly, the Brad's 21. I'm going to load up almost all of my flashers with these type of flies. I may mix in 1 or 2 other types of blue, like our Mercy UV, or like this Salmon Candy's Mercy UV here, which is like an aqua blue. But I'm going to definitely load up a bunch of my flashers with the fly that I know works. And if you've been fishing the Great Lakes for a while for salmon and trout, especially if you're a tournament angler or charter fisherman and you might fish 3, 4, 5 days in a row, you will see that a certain fly like this Illumination UV might be the hottest thing for 3 or 4 or 5 days. Then all of a sudden the conditions change. Watercolor changed a little bit, sun angle's different because it's cloudy now, it's not sunny. Whatever the case may be, now you're going out deeper and it's more clear blue water versus along the shoreline, it had some color. All of a sudden this isn't the fly anymore. And now this Brad's 21 is the fly. They want a dark green fly. The disadvantage of the old systems and the way guys fish flies is that you had to have a leader for every fly that you owned. So like this fly right here, you know, I've got a 24-inch leader on here. This is actually a pre-rigged Salmon Candy leader. The 8-inch leaders are tied to 24 inches, which is the way I like to run them, 3 times an 8-inch flasher. And this leader is rigged to 24 inches. The way we used to fish flies, we had to store this item. Had to store every one of these flashers and flies like this. Became very difficult to find a way to wrap those up. Became very difficult to find a way to keep these dry, keep them from rusting, and just guys have hundreds of flies. A lot of us do. I do. A lot of charter guys do. Weekend guys do. You accumulate a lot of them over time, and they're very difficult to store. With this interchangeable fly system, you can store enough flashers and enough flies, in a box almost this size. Of course, you'd have them out of the package, but I just wanted to show you, I've got it separated into some compartments here. You could have a dozen or more liters up in this upper compartment of extra ones. You can have all of your fly skirts out of the package and in here. You can mark them with which one it is. I do this exact box for a lot of guys and a lot of customers that come in the store. I kind of help them pick stuff out so they can get a box or two like this lined up. Really a nice deal for storage. You might be saying to yourself, well, how can you do that? What's the difference? Well, the main difference with the salmon candy leaders and flies are, the flies are designed specifically to be interchangeable, as I said. And what I mean by that is you can pull them on and off the leader, right? So if this powder blue Ron Bros Ex-Mistress is the hottest fly for 3-4 days, and I got 4, 5, 6 of these behind my best flashers, and all of a sudden this one just doesn't get bit anymore, and one of my buddies or another charter captain or whatever says to me, you know what, they're biting like crazy on the doughboy right now, which is another salmon candy fly. All I got to do is take that fly off like I just showed you, pinch the leader top a little bit like that, flip that fly skirt over, stick that leader tip in there, bang, I'm ready to go with this doughboy setup. I can hook it back on my same flasher if that flasher color's been good for me, and I'm ready to go. What I find is that I have about 24, 30 flashers that I run a lot. Names like Megatron, Kryptonite, Two-Face, UV Two-Face, whatever the case may be. I do try new ones. I do develop new ones. I do play around with it. But if I'm putting 9 rods out in a tournament, I can almost tell you right now what 5 or 6 of them will be almost all the time in tournaments in the month of June, and almost all the time in tournaments in the month of August. I could tell you what 5 or 6 of those are going to be. What I can't tell you is what color fly the fish might decide they want during that time period, because that seems to change a lot more than the profile of the flasher. So this exchangeable fly system really, really makes this easy. Now a guy might say to himself, well, why is that so critical? Let me tell you a couple key secrets that I'm going to let out here that makes this critical. The fly itself slides up and down the line, and when you catch salmon on this setup, you'll notice a lot of the times that when you reel them in, the fly might be up here, and what's in the fish's mouth is this last 4 or 5 inches of this leader setup. The hook, the beads, and the actual leader line right down by the knot here in this last 4 or 5 inches are what's in the fish's mouth. I have promoted this for years. I am a firm believer in this. Lures, rigs, meat rigs, fly rigs, crankbaits, spoons, the harness that comes with a silver horde plug, those things are what I call broken in. When this leader has caught 3, 4, 5, 6 salmon, this leader is more productive than a brand new one out of the package. That's not an opinion, that is a statement. I will guarantee you that. A Michigan Stinger branded spoon that I've caught 15 fish on, I will bet any money that 9 out of 10 days that exact spoon that's caught 15 fish will be better than one that's brand new out of the package. I'm not sure if it's the fact that the enzymes in a fish's mouth sort of covers up our human scent. I don't think so, because a guy could say, well, why wouldn't you use scent then? And I've played with tons of scents over the years trying to mock this and never have been able to duplicate the actual live scent that putting or catching fish on these rigs puts on there versus adding some sort of cure or scent or whatever to it. So I really believe that that's important, which what that means is I think the most important part of this entire setup a lot of times is the actual leader itself. In other words, this exact leader, this one in my hand right here, this line, this hook, these beads, if it's caught 25 big kings for me, this leader is critical. I take care of it. I try not to get it frayed up. I do not want to retie this until I absolutely have to, okay? And that's why this interchangeable fly system, by being able to pull these salmon candy flies off and switch skirt colors any moment I'd like, becomes critical, because I can keep and store my best leaders. You should have one box, what I call my hot box of leaders, just for your leaders. And you can wrap those leaders up real easily like this, twist that line through there once or twice, and bang, you can store those leaders like that. You should have one box that just has your best 6, 8, 10, 12 leaders. Now, I'll give you one more tip that I think is really important. When you've worn out some leaders, they're getting bad, and you go, boy, 2 or 3 of my really hot leaders are banged up and I'm going to have to retie them soon. One of the things you can do is take a brand new leader out of the package, or take a couple of them for that matter, and stick them in the fish's mouth. When you've caught a couple of fish that day, hopefully you've caught a whole cooler full, you can take some of these leaders in, shove them in those fish's mouth, let them sit in there for 5, 10, 15 minutes, and on a nice bright sunny day, what I like to do then is take those leaders out, hang those leaders on a rod holder or somewhere in your boat out in the sun, and let them dry. And what will happen is that same area that I mentioned, the hook, this last 4 or 5 inches of line, and these beads will have soaked in that fish's mouth and got some of those enzymes and scent and everything on the fish's from the fish's mouth on this leader, and I can hang that up, and that'll help me eliminate some of that break-in process. This leader will be a good leader almost right off the bat, and it will take a lot less time to get this broken in, so to say. Now you might think I'm crazy, but I promise you this is really important stuff. My dad's been a charter captain for almost 40 years. He almost cries every time he loses one of his hot fly rigs, and it has nothing to do with the fly skirt. I promise you, he'll give you all his fly skirts and take brand new ones out of the package. He doesn't care. What he doesn't want to lose is that leader rig that helps him catch more fish. So if you're interested in any of the Salmon Candy products, feel free to check out their Facebook page. I think they have a website now, or feel free to call us here at The Real Shot in Sheboygan at 920-395-2079. Good luck fishing, and have a great day.